2:01 p.m. Please call roll. Here. And I was sick last week, but you'll hear the remnants. If I can't make it through, I'll have the vice chair take over. Let's start with reviewing the council meeting agenda for Tuesday, March 5th. All right, we have a 9:30 and 1:30 sessions and consent. Pages 5, 6, and 7. Section 3, we have the non-management appraisals audit report and travel for the chamber mission. Also, the stormwater permit requirements and our investment policy annual review. That will be heard immediately after 3.4. And 3.7 being deferred. We have land use consent to be heard immediately after regular consent, and that is all for the agenda. So let's see if we have any public comment. All right, question?
I have a question regarding 3.4, the travel to Los Angeles on the study mission. Don't we usually put that on consent? Why is it on? Sure. Why is it not on consent this time?
Because the agenda would be too short.
No.
Unless our team or the clerk's team can tell me why it's not on consent, I'm happy to say that we will move it to consent.
Okay, then I will make that motion when I do make the motion.
It might have been when we added Councilmember Jimenez for the record.
I see that.
Just
So the two of you are on this trip, correct? So Vice Mayor will have to second the motion when I make it. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm kidding. Regarding the recommended deferral of item 3.7, the Shenzhen Sister City affiliation, can you give me 30-second review on why that's being deferred?
I will say, I think the language here that it's a deferral to the beginning of April is a mistake. I think we needed it deferred from the 5th because it does require some staff analysis, and our lead foreign affairs person here in the city is currently hosting the IRIS delegation. So if anything, we're just going to kick this a week. So we're more than open to when this needs to happen.
Okay, so there's no, it's not time certain to...
No,
I mean, not that I'm concerned about the date, I'm just concerned, wondering why. So it's mostly because Joe is out with the Irish delegation. I just had a lunch with him at Rotary, the whole delegation.
100%. Joe's a very busy man this week, and we weren't going to be able to get an analysis out of him and get that posted by Friday. So what we can do is I can update the Rules Committee next week on the date, but realistically, after talking to Nancy really quick, I think you would see something on March 12th, the following meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Then I will move approval of the March 5th agenda with moving 3.4 to the consent.
And I will second that.
All right, we have a...
Oh, and the ad sheet, yes.
Oh, yes, ad sheet. All right. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. I don't think there's any other comments, so let's vote. And that motion carries 4-0. Now we'll review for the first time our agenda for March 12th. With closed session at 9:30, regular session at 1:30, and a canceled evening session. Consent starts on page 4 and ends on page 4. Section 3, we have a labor negotiation summary, amendment to our gift ordinance, retirement pension, healthcare plan, actuarial report. And then section 4, we have cannabis business regulations. And we have land use consent to be heard immediately after regular consent. So do we have any public comment? All right, any questions or comments from the committee?
Move approval.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. All right, that motion carries 4-0. So we're on to our consent calendar for the Rules Committee today. There's 2 items on consent. Public comment? All right,
Move approval.
Second.
let's vote. And the motion carries 4-0. That brings us to our open forum.
Rudy Ortega, displaced residents in Columbus Park here in San Jose, California. Honorable members of the Open Rules and Government Committee, I, Rudy Ortega, stand before you today with a plea for justice and humanity. Our city's approach to homelessness is not just flawed, it's a violation of basic human rights and constitutional principles. The tactics being employed by our government under the guise of addressing homelessness are nothing short of draconian and unjust. Sweeps without warrants, forced displacements, and disregard for due process have become the norm, leaving our most vulnerable citizens without shelter or recourse. We cannot continue to allow this systematic trampling of our fellow human beings' rights in the name of bureaucratic convenience. The actions being taken by our city are not only morally reprehensible, but also legally indefensible. Rudy Ortega is not just a name. It represents the countless individuals whose lives are being impacted by these unjust policies that you've implemented. We cannot ignore their suffering any longer. I implore this committee to act with urgency and integrity. It's time to put an end to these unconstitutional practices and start prioritizing real solutions that address the root causes of homelessness. Our community's moral compass is at stake here. We will be remembered as a city that turned its back on the most marginalized among us, and we will stand up for justice and compassion, to stand up for what is right, to stand against the greed of money and the NIMBY attitude, because any and every last one of you can end up here where I stand before you today. Let me also make it clear that each and every one of you will be held accountable for your actions, whether it be mental disablement of an individual because of PTSD, lack of services of
Thank you.
stresses inflicted upon our most vulnerable, or worse, someone losing their life. The choice is yours, but remember, history will judge us by our actions, our lack thereof, because you, the ones who created this.
Okay.
We're the ones that created this.
Thank you.
Back to the committee.
All right, we are adjourned today at 2:09.